Hi everybody, welcome to Wednesday webinar. It's really lovely for you to join us today, and we have a fantastic talk by Neive, who's going to talk to us a little bit about what it was like as a law student and then later as a postgraduate student on the bar professional training course. So first of all, as usual, we're going to listen to an audio by Neive, and we've got Neive with us today, and she's going to go through and answer some questions that just sprung to mind when I listened to her audio. So first of all, I am going to share Neive's fantastic audio with you. It's a short audio, but you'll enjoy it. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on Wednesday webinars. It's a pleasure to contribute. I am Neive, and I've just completed my bar professional training course. And I've been asked to speak on something that I did not like during my studies or just life in general, and how I changed that. And so one of the things that I've chosen to speak about is that rest is important. I think sometimes we can go so hard after all the opportunities and building skill sets that we forget the importance of rest. And that definitely happened to me during my undergrad, especially during my undergraduate degree. And of course, just coming from a non traditional background where you don't know anybody at the bar, it makes it even obviously many times harder to build a competitive legal portfolio. And so you're just always trying to build skill sets and always working on different opportunities. I just remember one of my colleagues met me at the train station, and she was just trying to say hello, and I just had no time. And she said, "You always want to go." And that just really is a picture of what my undergrad degree was like. And as much as that's important, my grades suffered, my physical health suffered, my mental health suffered. And one of the questions Suzanne asked was, what would I have changed? Or what did I change, rather? And honestly, I didn't change anything, but what I would have liked to change, or a step that I could have taken that would have just made a world of difference, would be just take a step back, take a semester off, breathe, and just come back fresher and revived, and just able to handle everything better. I mean, it did come with its rewards from the vantage point of building my portfolio, but my physical and mental health definitely suffered. I did change a lot of things that I did while I was doing the bar course, which came later on. But during the undergrad, I didn't change anything, although I could see I was literally going, downhill with my health, both physically and mentally. And so my one word of advice would be rest. This would be my one word of advice. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow. Okay. So let's now talk to Neive herself. So we're just going to remove the video. Neive.
Suzanne, hi
So
everybody.
lovely
Thank you
to
so
have
much for
you.
having me on Wednesday webinars. It's a
Okay,
pleasure.
we're just going to remove the audio. Okay, there we go. Right, Neive, it's really lovely to have you here. And gosh,
Yes.
that audio brought up so many questions. Have you got a radio on the background, getting some feedback on the chat?
I don't know why.
Okay. Maybe
Not
just
at
move your
all.
mic
Let's try.
slightly away. Yeah, I'm getting some conversation. Oh, stop now. It stopped.
Okay.
Excellent. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Neive.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So one of the things
Awesome.
that I wanted to talk to you about, have you got your phone on in the background or anything? Because I'm getting feedback of your
Yes.
audio. Okay,
Okay.
turn your phone off.
Let me put that off. I've turned that
Excellent.
off. Is that better?
Yes, it stopped
Okay, great.
completely. Lovely. Okay, so one of the things that really interests me is that you said that you were always on the go. You had no time to say hello. How did that feel like while you were on your undergraduate course?
I know. And first of all, thank you so much for having me on, Suzanne. It's an immense honor. I'm really glad to be here and just to share for a few minutes about my experience. Yes, it really was like I was always on the go because I was working paid employment, and also you're just trying to boost that CV because you don't know anybody, but you know the high bar that has been set to build, a competitive pupillage application. So there was a period of my life, I could walk you through it. I would maybe take two trains to get into work, and then maybe I have classes in the afternoon, or vice versa. And so you're leaving home really early, you're getting back home really late, and maybe on that particular day, I have a moot that I'm preparing for. So I have another meeting with maybe my mooting partner, and then you have to study, get ready for your next day classes, or maybe you have exams, and you're just trying to balance all of that. And I just never had a moment where I stopped because it was just continuous. Every time I achieved something, I would just hop onto the next one because the opportunities were available. They were making themselves, available, and I just wanted to avail myself to having a full experience. So I was always on the go, literally.
So how did you feel when you were always on the go? You just rush, or were you organized? You knew what you were going to do next. You had everything planned out. How did you feel during this period?
Looking back, I think I can say that maybe I was numb, and I don't know if that makes sense. You're not
Mhm.
thinking of the fact that you're tired. You're not thinking of anything excepting what it is that you're doing. I'm achieving this. I am getting this mood done. I am doing this. I am studying for my next exam until it's all done. And then you realize, oh my goodness, I'm just tired. I need a break. So I was numb, but I think underneath all of that, I was just very tired.
Mhm.
But not to make it all sound negative, I did feel extremely accomplished and that I was doing, I was getting results out of being on the go all the time. So yeah,
Okay.
huge,
So
yeah, accomplished.
you're on your undergraduate course. You're no time to say hello to people because you're on the go, but you feel that you're achieving things. At
Yes,
some stage, you sort of feel that your mental health and your physical health is deteriorating.
yes.
What signs were there, and did anyone sort of advise you or talk to you at this stage?
Yeah. So one of the things that was a big red flag was I all of a sudden began to have a lot of allergies. So I couldn't have any dairy. I couldn't have any wheat. And I mean, I'm speaking as somebody in my late 20s because I was a mature student. And all of a sudden, my body just started rejecting all sorts of foods.
Mhm.
And I was not able to pin what it was for quite some time because they were not allergies that existed previously. And at the time, I did not know what it was either, but I also had serious anxiety attacks, and
Mhm.
most times at evening time. And I just didn't know what they were. I mean, now I know what it was, and looking back, that's what it was. Did I seek help? I didn't, just because I didn't even know I needed to seek help. I just thought, hey, you just need to get over this and get on with the next thing. So I did not seek help because of that at that time.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
understand, that drive to succeed, in a very competitive environment. I quite understand that. Um, when you say in your audio that your grades suffered, how did that manifest
Yeah.
itself?
Yeah. So on my undergrad, I did have two receipts. I think it was my EU law, and I don't remember which other one. But it was just that particular moment. I think I was about to crash. And so that was my first fail. And I'm generally not a student who had experienced fails before that point in my life. So when I got my results, and this is a joke now, but it wasn't a joke at the time. I sent an email to the lecturer and I said, hey, the results came out, but I think there's an error. And I genuinely thought that there had been an error because I had a failed
Yeah,
grade. It was a really bad fail. And he
yeah.
said, no, that's your grade. And I was, are you serious? I had never gotten such a bad grade. And at that point, I realized, all throughout that something is definitely wrong, that I would have gotten such a bad fail.
But you know what? When you're in that position, it's sometimes very hard to see what's going on around you.
Yes, yes,
You're almost like you're in the goldfish bowl, things are happening
yes,
around you, and you don't see the same perspective as you may see later on.
yeah.
So,
Sorry, I
okay,
missed.
so you go through your undergraduate course, you do your resits, then you go on to the bar course. Does anything
Yes.
change? Are you still go?
I was less go. Definitely. And one of the reasons was because I had done so much on my undergrad that I didn't need to do as much. So I was able to just focus on the back course, but I did not have sufficient rest between the two. So you find I had not, let me use healed. I had not healed from all of that trauma and all of that go. And so my body was still quite wired, but I was not doing as much. I really was doing my course, qualifying sessions, and just trying to rest. And by that point, I was married as well. So I did not have to work. So that was just a huge help that I did not have to work at that point. So it was less go, thankfully, because you would know, of course, just the intensity of the course. Yeah.
But did you feel that you were consciously stepping down a little bit because that's what your body and your mental health needed?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
And by
Yeah,
this
that's what
stage,
it is.
had anyone spoken to you or advised you, or had you spoken to any tutors?
No, I had not spoken to anybody specifically about just, my mental health and physical health, but I knew enough when to step back, when to miss a class, just because it was necessary. And I also knew that I needed to take a rest after the course, but I had received a scholarship and I don't think there was an option to defer. And I wanted to do the course part-time just because I knew that that would have helped my mental health. But it was not an option that was available to me at the time because I was an international student. I think that has since changed. And so you did find that I was still sort of going more than my body was able to do at the time. But I wasn't doing any extracurricular activities as I was on the LLB. So it was still sort of the same environment, but for different reasons, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you got through the bar course and then you sort of look back. How, when you look back
Yes.
over this whole period, the undergraduate period and the postgraduate period, did you feel about the whole process?
I missed that. I'm sorry. You could cut off.
Okay, I'm really sorry about this. I think I'm not sure whether it's my mic or just the internet. Just looking back, how did you feel about the whole process? So this is like Neive a year or two later, looking back on herself, going through that process.
Yeah.
How did you feel with hindsight?
At the time, okay, in hindsight, I think, for example, I got called yesterday at the bar. Grace Inn had just the loveliest of ceremonies, yes. And I think just the main thing that I feel is just gratitude. I just feel so much gratitude. So, it's not excitement, it's just gratitude because I understand just the honor that it was to reach that milestone and to have survived the past few years. So I think gratitude is like the main thing that I'm taking out of all of it. I feel really grateful to have accomplished just what I've been able to accomplish in the past few years on my undergrad and on the bar course. Like I said, looking back, one of the things that I would have possibly done is take a semester off or take more time off, deal with some things, just rest and come back refreshed. I would have been able to achieve much better grades and I would have been able to enjoy the process much more. So it was much more like a tick boxing exercise rather than enjoying and getting more immersed in the law. So I think I did not get to enjoy the process as much just because of the tiredness and the body breaking down. So that's what I would say in hindsight, and especially to students. Sometimes, I mean, if your circumstances allow it, take that semester off and just rest. You don't even need to have too much of a plan if your finances can accommodate that kind of lifestyle. And just rest and come back refreshed. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's such wonderful advice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can feel really challenging to step back and to do less. Everyone
Yes.
thinks you need to do more, work harder, da, 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 da.
Yes.
Sometimes, as I used to say to my students, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Pace yourself.
That's right.
Marathon
Yeah.
runner has
Yeah.
to pace themselves. They have to take drinks, refreshments,
Yeah.
so that they get through the whole of the race. If they start
That's
hard,
right.
they go fast, they're not going to last the whole length of the marathon. So it's really interesting to get the perspective of a student about the need to
Yeah.
sometimes just step back and rest. Okay, so now you've graduated. That's brilliant. You've been called to the bar. Tick, tick, tick. Brilliant. So
Yes.
what are you
Yes.
doing with yourself at the moment?
Yeah, wonderful question. So what I've been doing for the past year alongside completing the course is I've set up my business. It's called Align. And what we are doing is we're trying to help persons who don't have connections at the bar. And for that group of persons, they usually, I would say we usually, because this is the group that I would have been a part of, we usually don't have a practical understanding of what's needed. So in my experience and with my colleagues, I had persons on the bar course who had not done any mini pupillages or not done any moots and actually intending to apply for pupillage. And obviously that application would not even get past the paper sift just because it's just, they didn't know. And so what I want to do is, or what I'm doing actually is I have a website, and what we're doing is assessing a user when they come in. And based on that information that they've given to us, we're developing an achievement ladder specific to that person's needs and that person's aspirations. So we're telling you what you should be doing at what stage, signposting you to different websites, different activities, and just being that support system. So a coach sort of, but not needing to speak to you every day. So it's a digital platform because we're catering obviously to a 21st century barrister. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing right now. Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
why did you think it was important to set up that system?
Yeah. So from personal experience and of course from further research, just because I saw so many people who did not know that it was such an intense market, because the bar is so niche. And you have, for example, I think the latest set of statistics is that I think how many? 93% of our population, they attend state schools, isn't it? But you have so much of the pupillage is being secured by persons who are privately educated. And the reality is that most of those persons would have a connection at the bar. And so they would know what they need to do. For example, I think my first mini pupillage, I was in my second year of my undergrad. And on that mini pupillage, there was another student with that barrister, but she hadn't even started A levels. And she was already on her first mini pupillage. So,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
exactly, because she had, it's because she knew somebody at the chambers. Yeah. And
Oh,
that
okay.
person used
So
to,
normally they don't take them that young.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So, I
So,
mean,
yeah.
what a great motivator for her at that age to be able to go into a
Yes.
barrister's chambers, to go to court and
Yes.
see a barrister performing, and to understand at that very early stage what they need to do in order to do well at law
Yes.
school and then to get pupillage. And so, you've got a website. Can you just tell us the address of the website and
Yes.
what's the process of getting that sort of coaching or mentoring on the website? Could you just explain a little bit about that?
Yes. Yes. Oh, there's something flying overhead. I think it's causing a little bit of background noise. just let that
We've
pass.
we've had everything this evening, haven't we?
I know, I know. And the one thing, I mean, my baby is so well behaved, no noise, and everything else is causing background. Yeah, so we are having our official launch in August. So that's in a few weeks. And at that point, we'll be having, I mean, a massive launch campaign. And so everybody who's an aspiring barrister would probably get some kind of sponsored ad on every platform you can think of. But in the meantime, persons can follow my personal page on LinkedIn. That's Neive Augustine. And you could see, in my experience, you could get a link to the website, a line, and you could sign up there. But the official website is still being handled by the developers, and I am on the next. And so in about 2 to 3 weeks, we should have that fully completed and ready for our launch. But in
Right,
the meantime, persons can connect with us on LinkedIn mainly and on Twitter.
Okay, excellent. I put your name in the chat box, and
Okay, great.
we'll update you when it comes out and you have the big launch.
Yes.
But
Yes.
Neve, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us and to tell us about your lovely organisation and
Yes.
called Align. And we
Yes.
wish you all the well for the future. And thank you so much for the really excellent advice that you've given to
Yes.
students.
You're
Okay.
welcome, Suzanne. And thank you so much for having me. I really hope that persons would connect with me, because we really want to help students just, have that sort of practical understanding. It's a very simple process. And when you get connected with me, I'm happy to just have a conversation with anybody who is interested.
Yeah. So basically, people from a non-professional background who don't have any connections in the legal industry
Yeah.
and are thinking
Yes.
about going to the bar, you're there to help.
That's right.
Okay. Neve, it's been a pleasure talking
Excellent.
to you.
Yes.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for giving us your time this
Thank you.
Wednesday, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.